We need to go live. Hang on. Good afternoon. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. It's 1 o'clock, and we're continuing our discussion to hear about how federal funds are affecting departments and agencies. And right now we have with us on Zoom, thank you for coming, the Department of Public Service. I've got 3 names here, but we've got 2 there. I see Brittany and Patricia. I don't know if the commissioner is also coming or not.
No, he will not be joining us today.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. If you would like to introduce yourselves and then tell us about your situation. Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Brittany Wilson, Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Public Service. I am roughly 3 months into the job here. And Patty, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Patricia LaRose. I am the financial manager for the Department of Public Service.
Great. Well, welcome. And do we have? Oh, I guess we don't have anything from you. We're just using what Sarah Clark gave us for her spreadsheet. We don't have anything else from you guys specifically. Can you tell us what page on the spreadsheet your section is?
I don't.
Bottom of page 11.
Thank you. Page 11.
Let me know when you're all set and we can.
Let's see. Yes, Public Service Department. Okay.
It's at the bottom.
Bottom of page 11. People all set? All right. Thank you. I think we're there.
Okay. I'm not sure what would work best for you all, but maybe instead of going line by line, we could just start off with some general comments. As you know from our budget testimony, and as you can see from taking a look at the spreadsheet, we do have several large federal grants that we've applied for or currently have possession of. I would say that the 4 larger federal grants, which you will see, there's 8.4 for enhancing the resilience of our electric grid. There are 2 $29 million grants, which are the Home Energy Efficiency Rebate Program and the High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Program. And the 4th being Solar for All, which is $62 million. Those grants, I would say, are on the riskier side. I would put homes, we've begun to draw down funds with Solar for All and homes. Peers is not a program that we have drawn down yet. And I would put that in very risky. And in fact, we're kind of planning not to receive that funding or don't expect to.
Okay. So if you could pause a minute, Brittany. I'm not seeing all these.
Right.
They're not on this sheet.
Sorry, that's correct. So we have, so of the federal dollars, one of the things that we ran into with the spreadsheet that was provided in the format that it was in, it asked for budgeted amounts for FY26.
Yeah.
And so I'm pointing out federal programs in dollars that aren't currently budgeted for fiscal 26. So it's a bit of apples and oranges here, but I wanted to point out some of the larger federal funds that we were looking at and receiving, but aren't necessarily going to show up in a FY26 budget. So
maybe it would be nice if you could afterwards just send us a memo with a little chart of these 4 things that you're talking about, because we can't write it down fast enough and they're not on here. So I think I'm not alone in feeling lost.
Sorry, I apologize for that. We can send that along. One of the things I'm looking at is the budget presentation that we gave to you all on one of those slides, and we should have sent that along so you were looking at the same thing
It's page 17 and 18 of our budget presentation book.
And we can send them on
Pull that up.
unless you have them handy.
Okay.
So perhaps the spreadsheet wasn't exactly the format didn't fit into what you all were looking for. If you're looking for specific impacts to fiscal year 26, we can stick to the spreadsheet in the format that you had requested the information in. If you're generally looking for federal dollars, programs that we are planning on deploying, and federal dollars we are receiving, that's kind of a bit of a broader discussion. So I'm happy.
Yeah, so this spreadsheet was what your administration wanted to use as the starting off point, but I guess it doesn't always work with everything. Did you say it's on page 12? I actually pulled up your budget presentation, which is February 18th video. If you
17
so-
and 18.
So is that where we should be looking?
17 and 18, yeah, those show.
17 and 18, okay.
Page 17 shows our legacy awards and 18 shows the IRA.
Right, 17 doesn't have that much, but I can see on the page 18. You have two for $29 million.
Yep.
And then it's 62 million for solar for all. And 8 million for enhancing the resilience of the electric grid. So those are the four that you were just referencing. And
Correct.
which is the one that you felt was most at risk at this point, the solar?
It would be the HERES, which is the High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Program. So the 29.192.
Oh, yeah, okay. So have you actually heard things from the federal government about that program?
I would not necessarily hearing, I mean, that's part of the problem is we're not hearing anything, and there isn't much engagement on some of these programs.
Uh-huh,
Some of the other programs, there has been engagement. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. We weren't hearing anything. Some of them do have project officers now. I know that we've had pretty consistent communication recently with Solar for All.
yeah.
Room officer.
And what's happening with that one? What are you hearing on that one?
We're still continuing to plug away and deploy on the program. So moving along, we've been able to draw down funds. So that's a good sign.
Okay,
And continuing to operate under the assumption we'll continue to be able to draw down those dollars.
so that's a 5-year grant that just started recently or has been going?
It is somewhat new. We're in the first year planning phase. And yes, it is expected to run for 5 years.
Questions? So on the high efficiency, you're just assuming that's not going to happen because you've had contact with them and.
There hasn't been any engagement is what our folks are saying.
There hasn't been any what?
Engagement, when our staff have reached out to inquire, there's been really no engagement or responses to questions.
Oh. But not the same on the home energy efficiency rebate that you've been able to contact people?
There's, I think there's been less questions in terms of how that would be deployed. So on homes, we're moving forward. That's going to be an MOU with OEO for weatherization services.
Uh-huh.
Patty, anything to add in terms of like the funding for either of those as to why we're more comfortable with homes versus HERES?
Well, we have the actual signed award documents for homes, and there's some contingency. We haven't fully been awarded that money. That's why it's still very up in the air. And in the homes, we have drawn small amounts to cover a little salary that is being spent.
Okay. But you haven't been able to draw anything down from the high efficiency one? Or have you
No,
even attempted to, have you attempted to draw down on that one?
No, and we can't because we don't have the fully signed award agreements.
Oh. Okay.
And in fact, I've tried to file quarterly reports on the high efficiency award, and they won't even accept our quarterly reports.
Okay. Well, that doesn't sound very good, does it? And how about the electric grid one for 8.4 million?
So, we issued a notice for funding and those proposals were back due. These are proposals we've received from the utilities. And those were due yesterday. I will say that those proposals need to receive approval from the grid deployment office at the Department of Energy. And so those approvals may be another step that could help us identify if there's any risk there. But we're continuing to move forward and deploy those dollars in that program.
So have you had actual contact with the people there?
I'm not aware of the communications with that specific office on this program. To my knowledge, things are moving forward, so that's an indication to me that this has not been one of the programs that staff have flagged like, hey, we're not getting any feedback or hearing.
Okay, okay. Yeah, all right. And sometimes you don't hear because you don't have anything to say at that point, but other times, yeah. What we're hearing from a lot of departments is the lack of engagement, or there's not, the people they used to work with aren't there anymore, and so there's nobody to talk to. Sounds
Yes,
like-
we have had engagement around the grid program, the resilience of the grid program.
Okay. Okay, John, did you have a question?
Yeah, kind of a follow-up to what Jared's been asking here. With nearly every group that's come in recently here, I and others have asked questions about communication here. And for some, they've tried to draw down money and things were frozen, and maybe have gotten a reply back at some point that something's under review, or they have tried to reach out and there's just been a long pause to get a response because perhaps the person that they normally communicate with is no longer there or has been shifted to other duties, those kinds of things. So I think that's kind of, the more specific information I would appreciate. It doesn't have to be today here because you're kind of waiting for some things clearly here, but just to give us an idea as to what kind of communication challenges you might be having here as things develop. And maybe you're just kind of waiting here for some things that will eventually happen. But it's always kind of nice to know on your part and our part too, as to when that might be. You might have questions back to the different federal agencies that are part of these grants to determine that. So it sounds like you really haven't had much communication here at all, or at all with anyone at this point.
Well, no, I would say it just differs. Each of these funding sources,
Right,
the
they're all
story
different.
is different and it changes daily. So it's a bit of it's very fluid. We started out with not receiving answers to questions. There weren't program officers for some. Now there are. Now there's more consistent meetings. So it's a continuous evolving issue, and people have left. We could provide a general sense for some of these where things stand, but I just want to make sure everybody understands it's a point in time.
Sure.
And it could change.
Yes.
I think we realize things are changing daily here.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I think, Patty, correct me if I'm wrong, for each of the federal grants that we have, if all of our drawdowns are complete and we've received the funding for each of the draws that we've requested. Is that correct, Patty?
That is almost correct. There is one, there is the sustainable energy in schools and public buildings. That one I had to resubmit they do it by invoice. I had to resubmit the invoice. I had a 5-cent error in it.
Would they, a year ago, have made you resubmit for a 5-cent error?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So that's typical. Okay.
Yes, it had to match the quarterly that I also submitted, and it was a 5-cent difference.
Okay, so you're still waiting. That was one of the ones I was going to ask you about because of the name of the grant, Sustainable Energy in Schools and Public Buildings. So you don't know yet whether it'll be approved.
I have not heard anything bad.
Yeah.
And Patty, we have drawn some down already though in that program, no?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
In order for us to do the draw for that award, we had to have the corresponding match supplied.
Okay. Tip?
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. I am wondering, how will Vermonters be affected by, I mean, what kind of impact will this have on households, on, well, it's mostly probably households, or individuals, who would be involved in these activities or receive funding. I mean, is it like, anyway, I'll let you answer that question. Because it's hard for me to know. So what's the impact if we lose this money?
Right, that's, so thanks for asking that. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight kind of the top four, the four largest grants. If you take out, the grid resilience piece, those three, the 229 millions and the 62 million, those are direct, programs and services for Vermonters. There's a lot of federal dollars here that have obviously a benefit. They're much smaller amounts. They support, staffing costs, contracts, operational costs. But I would say the largest impact on Vermonters will be if we were to not receive, the Solar for All funding or the homes funding. But those are not current programs. Those are new programs. And so, it's not as though something is going away that they had.
But what won't people be able to do if we don't have those grants?
So Solar for All has three components to it. There's the rooftop solar. There's multifamily affordable housing solar. And then the third piece is building off an existing program that we run called Affordable Community Renewable Energy. So I would say the biggest impacts there will be low-income households will not receive the funding or the subsidies to access solar installation on their rooftops. Same thing for the affordable solar housing folks.
And the high efficiency home rebate, the same.
So
kind of
that,
thing?
yeah, the high efficiency. So homes is the weatherization one. Again, we feel stronger about that, and that's weatherization services. The home electrification and appliance rebate program. Those are, appliances that you would think of in your home to be replaced that are more efficient. And that's the one that we don't expect to receive.
Yeah. That gets your question.
Yeah.
You're like another one.
No, I mean,
John?
Yeah, I know someone asked this question. I didn't have time to write it down here, but with those top 3 or 4, what year are you in here with, say, for example, Solar for All? Because it's a 5 years. Are you at the beginning of that? You're already into it?
Just very beginning, we're a year into it. Maybe the first year into Solar for All.
That would be a longer term impact here, clearly.
Right.
What you're planning to do.
Right. But has not been deployed
Right.
yet. But
I-
things are moving in the right direction on that one.
Okay. The 2 high efficiency ones, there's a 2-year and a 5-year.
Yeah, we are,
Those.
what's that?
I'm sorry, Brittany. We are the 229,000 grants. We are months into those.
Both of them.
Okay,
Months.
thank you.
yeah, I just wanted, so are there state positions that are fully funded through any of these grants? You know what the FTE equivalent might be?
Yeah.
And are they fully funded or just partially?
Yeah, that,
You can get back to us.
yeah, that's
There is a
on the
column.
spreadsheet that we provided the total FTEs, but it is it's a bit of there's a story behind those numbers too, whether or not it's a full FTE or partial, so we can follow up.
It looks like some of them, I'm looking at your old stuff. A lot of them I'm sure are partial, so it's sort of what's the total FTE, knowing that it's spread across many more employees, but it looks like it's somewhere between 8 and 10 maybe. No, because you got one with 7.
It's if you add up that column, it comes to 22.3 FTE.
Okay. And a lot of them are, not all, but there's a bunch on the broadband, which seems to be like, that seems to be okay.
Oh, so thank you for asking about broadband. I did not speak to any of the grants related to VCBB.
Right.
Thoughts and feelings on BEAD and other grants they receive.
That's actually not quite the biggest, but when, I think we heard that from Christine that they seemed like they felt like they were okay.
Yeah, I did hear some kind of a news blurb that perhaps it's being looked at, but I don't
There
have
might
any.
be some potential changes.
Yeah, changes in it for some, yeah, because I know they just applied for a sizable grant to keep things moving ahead. And maybe they're just waiting on that.
But nothing has changed at this point. Are they worried about getting the full build out?
I guess that's probably a better question for Christine.
Okay,
Yeah, I can follow up.
John will follow up on that. Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Any other questions? Anybody has? So glad to know some of these maybe seem to be okay, and what I'm hearing about not finding people is not uncommon. We're hearing that across agencies. I'm glad it's not all of your grants, but if things take a significant change, this is John Senska's area of our budget, so just keep in touch with him would be great.
Send me a note. Happy to talk anytime.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so committee, our next folks are coming in at 2. The